A pro-Israel super PAC is preparing to shell out nearly $96 million to bribe our federal lawmakers. Now, Cenk, what are your 2 cents on what's probably your favorite topic? Keep it short.
Israel has been, the Israeli lobby has been bribing our politicians for a long, long time. But now you get to find out about it. So I want you to really focus on the numbers. And then I want you to think about, as Anna's telling you all the stories, about how our media just hasn't been able to notice it. Like the guys in charge of noticing things just couldn't see any of this at all.
Well,
it's amazing.
If there's one thing I've learned over the last 2 years, noticing is a very bad thing. You shouldn't notice anything, okay?
It could mean you're anti-Semitic if you notice things.
That's exactly right. Now, this story specifically has to do with a super PAC that's titled the United Democracy Project, which doesn't really give you a sense that it's tied to the Israel lobby, but it is. And in fact, it's so tied to the Israel lobby that it gets most of its funding from AIPAC. Now, I would venture to say that AIPAC probably realizes that most people now know about them and the nefarious influence the Israel lobby happens to have on our political system. And so they're probably finding ways to kind of get around the great noticing that's happening among the American people. So they deploy this super PAC known as the United Democracy Project. UDP raised more than $61.6 million in the second half of last year, including a record $30 million in just 2 donations from AIPAC. Okay, so significant amount of money comes from AIPAC. You know exactly what this super PAC is all about. Other large donations to UDP in the second half of 2025 included billionaires Paul Singer, a Republican mega donor. He donated $2.5 million, and Haim Saban, a Democratic mega donor, $1 million. So these are hardcore Zionists, there's no question about it. And they provided these massive donations to this super PAC that carries out the best interests of Israel. Now, time will tell how the UDP plans on spending this money, meaning just how much they're gonna give to probably every congressional lawmaker, with the exception of those who have been vociferous in not wanting to aid and abet Israel's genocidal intent in the Middle East. Now, unsurprisingly, AIPAC, by the way, for reference, I want to give you one reference just to kind of give you a sense of how they have spent their money in the past. In 2024, UDP spent $37.9 million. So it's not like they're new to the scene, and they have spent a lot of money on our elections in the past. Now, unsurprisingly, AIPAC, which again helps to fund UDP, has been pushing Congress to approve more foreign aid to Israel, because of course they are. And meanwhile, UDP is gearing up to target any politician that's even slightly opposed to that policy, meaning taking out more US debt in order to provide more funding for Israel. For example, former Democratic Representative Tom Malinowski is running for governor, Mikey Sherrill's seat in New Jersey. And he has stated that Israel should not receive aid unconditionally. Now, let me be clear. We're talking about a guy who's actually very supportive of Israel. He's just saying, yeah, maybe the military aid shouldn't be unconditional. Maybe we should rein it in a little bit. And that was enough for him to become a target. So a spokesperson for UDP stated that Tom Malinowski is talking about conditioning aid to Israel. That's not a pro-Israel position. Great, he has my support. In a matter of weeks, UDP has spent over $2 million on attack ads against Malinowski. But you wanna know what's really fascinating about the attack ads? They don't mention anything about Israel, because the Israel lobby knows that they've lost the American people. So if they attack him on conditioning aid to Israel, he's probably gonna get more support, not less. So they're finding other ways to attack him. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing I'll say about this. In response to the spending onslaught, Malinowski stated, quote, "If their definition of pro-Israel now excludes mainstream Democrats like me, the number of pro-Israel people in America will become so small, it will be non-existent." Well, I mean, I would agree with him. I just don't know how many Epstein associates and pedophiles are currently in Congress. So many of them might be blackmailed into supporting Israel anyway, even if internally they don't actually like what Israel's up to. That's how this all works. So Cenk, your thoughts?
Yeah, so first of all, did you notice what they said about Malinowski? They said that he wants to put conditions on Israel's aid, and it must instead be unconditional. Isn't that super strange? Like a country wants military aid, in fact demands it, but not only do you have to give it to them, there has to be no conditions at all. So that you could steal our nuclear secrets, nope, there was no conditions. You could commit a genocide, there was no conditions. You owe me, Americans, you owe me, Israel says. They say it all the time. And how do they say it? They say it by spending millions against Tom Malinowski, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush. But as I've told you many times, Andy Levin is my favorite because it shows you what it's really about. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. Andy Levin is a Jewish American, and he was a representative in Michigan, already elected and incumbent. And he said something entirely benign. He stated American foreign policy. He said he was in favor of a two-state solution. Andy Levin says he's a Zionist, and he's like, I want to keep Israel free and independent and safe, but I also think there should be a Palestinian state. They spent $4 million to eliminate Andy Levin from Congress. Because this has nothing to do with Jews or Muslims or Christians or anything. This has to do with a lobby for a foreign government. And they are vicious. They will eliminate anyone that says that we should even put any conditions on their aid. No, our support in the form of hundreds of billions of dollars to Israel must be unconditional. No matter what they do, no matter what evil they unleash in the world, no matter how many people that they attack, no matter how many people they kill, America owes Israel. You owe us, they say. And they scream it in millions of dollars that they spend against all of our politicians who dare to raise their head against that foreign government. So I know because, not only because of all the stories that we've covered, but I knew intimately what was happening in the Nina Turner race in Cleveland. And at the time, AIPAC was starting to get caught, and they were realizing, hey, running as AIPAC and giving the money as AIPAC is a little problematic. So they did it through another group back then, but that group was hilariously named Democratic Majority for Israel. Now, I kept asking, where's the Democratic Majority for Cleveland, right? No, but it's in the name. No, you must work for Israel. And Shontel Brown did something amazing. She's the one that was at about 2% in the race. Nina Turner had a 35-point lead against all these guys. Shontel Brown put something in her website that said, I unconditionally support Israel. And voila, millions of dollars showed up for Shontel Brown. They bought every ad in radio and TV in Cleveland, and they erased Nina Turner's 35-point lead. And Shontel Brown is now the congresswoman from Ohio, and she loyally serves Israel every single day in the United States Congress. That is how they have systematically bought almost our entire Congress. 94% of Congress is funded by AIPAC. 82% of them vote with Israel every single time. Those guys, on average, just last cycle, got $125,000 per Congress member. Now, our mainstream media tells us, no, those Congress people are angels, and they're not affected by that money at all. AIPAC spent $100 million, the Israeli lobby did last cycle alone. And our media tells us that doesn't affect the politicians because they're saints.
They don't even cover it. They don't.
Okay, and they don't even talk about it.
They don't cover it. Yeah.
And in fact, if you do talk about it and you just say, hey, wait a minute, it looks like they're buying off our politicians. They're like, anti-Semite, destroy his career, says Jake Tapper and Dana Bash and almost everybody in establishment media, because they don't care about this country at all. All they care about is how do we push every dollar we can from America to Israel. And so this is an organized group that's their job. So now Malinowski is on the block, but it's not just them. And by the way, the list of people that Anna read you, Why are they doing this subterfuge? And what are the layers of it? They're like, well, okay, AIPAC is toxic, but we still want to do it. So we'll call it UDP or Universal Basic, whatever, we'll call it anything you want, okay? Just don't let people find out it's for Israel while we demand total obedience to that government, right? Now they're going to another layer where even that's getting caught, as you see here. So they're saying, okay, we're gonna do the same thing, it's gonna be just as organized, but we're gonna tell all of our donors, just donate as individuals, because that'll allow us to weaponize charges of anti-Semitism better. That's our number one tool. So when Paul Singer gives money in this case to defeat this guy, and you go, hey, it looks like Paul Singer only cares about Israel, they go, anti-Semite! He's just an innocent Jewish American, has nothing to do with Israel. He just happened to be walking by and decided to fund every election to make sure that everybody in Congress works for Israel. It's just a coincidence. No, it has nothing to do with religion, it has to do with the government. Paul Singer is also the guy financing the opponent of Tom Massey. So they're in Democratic primaries, they're in Republican primaries, because they don't care, they don't have any allegiance to Democrats or Republicans or even America.
Yeah, they want to rape the country on behalf of Israel. That's what they want to do. They want to rape our country on behalf of Israel. That's all it is. And so call me anti-Semitic if you want. I don't care.
So, I mean, we could argue about the word rape. You could say, no, it's just a robbery. They've only taken $350 billion so far, and they are demanding tens of billions more. They're demanding it and demanding it. By the way, again, when I was on Tucker Carlson's show, I asked, hey, is anybody in American media gonna do this poll? Do Americans owe Israel any more money? And so far, nobody's done that poll, and nobody will do that poll. Why? Because they don't want the answer. I guarantee you it'll be an enormous percentage of Americans go, no, we don't owe them any more money. And the media will be furious, and our politicians will be furious. How dare you, you anti-Semites, go you work another shift. Israel needs more money. Now, lastly, Haim Saban. Haim Saban has been the #1 donor to the Clintons. He is an enormous Democratic donor. His job is to co-opt the Democratic Party on behalf of Israel. I don't know that Haim Saban has a second issue. All I've ever read about him in politics, and I have read a lot, is he gives an enormous amount of money to Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and then he goes, one priority, bow to Israel, okay? And they do, and all the Democrats bow because of Haim Saban, the Republicans bow because of Paul Singer and the other guys, and they have both parties completely locked up, and they have the media as another weapon, because not only does the media not cover these stories, they cover up these stories, and if anyone dares to actually cover them and reveal them to you, the media comes in and goes, those are anti-Semites, those are illegitimate, they should be canceled, and no one should ever, ever, ever listen to them again. Make sure they're shut up for, okay, and then you go, well, that looks like you're working for Israel, anti-Semite. So this is an old trick. This is a trick that they've done now 2,000 times over. What is awesome is that the American people are waking up. And on the right and the left, they're going, no, we don't owe Israel. And Paul Singer and Haim Saban could go pound sand in their beloved Tel Aviv, okay? And now people are beginning to say, hey, and I'm the first one to say it, when is Israel gonna give us the money back? Because they keep saying, oh no, us taking all of your money is super helpful to America. Great, we'd love to help Israel in the same exact way. Give us our $350 billion back. We got to ban all of this money in politics. If you don't ban the money in politics, Israel supporters, big pharma, big oil, the defense contracts, they're gonna buy our politicians until the cows come home. They are never, ever, ever going to work for us. We should have only one priority, constitutional amendment to get money out of politics. We've been telling you that here for literally 15 years straight, okay? And now the whole country's waking up and realizing our government isn't our government. It's totally bought, it's totally corrupt. Almost every politician is a scumbag. They're the worst people in America, and they have been handpicked by either Israeli supporters or big pharma, etc., to be the very worst of us and to rob us blind on behalf of those donors. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.